Today, we're doing something pretty cool. We're prying open the private notebooks of one of philosophy's absolute titans, Immanuel Kant. And we're looking for a hidden blueprint, a completely different story about where the rules of reality even come from. This isn't just some dusty old history lesson. It's a journey that all starts with one wild question.
And there it is, the bombshell right at the heart of everything Kant was about. He's suggesting that our minds aren't just mirrors, passively reflecting a reality that's already out there. No, he's saying our minds are the architects, actively drawing the blueprints and laying the very foundation of the world we experience.
So what's the big secret? Well, the official story, the one you get from his most famous book, is that our basic concepts, things like cause and effect or the idea of a solid thing, are neatly sorted into these pre-existing logical boxes. It's like a perfectly organized filing cabinet. But his private notes? Whoa. They tell a completely different story. They show this raw, dynamic process, a powerful engine, where the mind isn't just sorting stuff, it's actively generating the rules of reality itself.
So let's pop the hood on this mental engine, shall we? First up, we need to get our heads around this huge shift Kant was working through, moving from a static filing cabinet of ideas to a dynamic, reality-building machine.
You see, in these private notes, Kant wasn't really focused on the finished products of thought, the neat little boxes or forms. He was obsessed with the process, the functions. Think of it like a chef. A chef doesn't just look at the finished cake. They study the active verbs, the mixing, the folding, the baking. Kant wanted to know what our minds are actively doing to stitch our experiences together and create a coherent reality out of all that chaotic sensory noise. To figure this out, Kant came up with a really simple but powerful little model. He asked a basic question. How does my concept of something, let's call it A, like apple, connect to the actual object out there in the world, X? And the revolutionary answer he found was B. B isn't in the apple, and it's not in some universal logic chart. B is the rule, the software, running inside our own minds that makes that connection happen. He was looking inward, for the mind's source code.
And this search, this looking inward, leads him to scribble down one of the most shocking statements in all of philosophy. I am the original of all objects. Now, hold on, he doesn't mean this in some kind of godlike way. What he means is that what we call an object isn't some mysterious thing in itself out there. An object is what happens when our minds apply their own universal rules to our perceptions, making them stable and understandable for everyone.
Okay, so if the mind is an engine, what's the power source? Kant had a name for it, apperception. And as we're about to see, his notes show this power source basically issues three fundamental commands that build the reality we all know.
So what is apperception? To put it simply, it's the mind's awareness that it is thinking. It's that constant, quiet hum in the background of your consciousness that says, I am the one having these thoughts. But for Kant, this is not a passive thing. Imagine it as the operating system of your mind. It's not just aware that apps are running, it's the central power source that organizes everything, demanding that all the data flows into one single unified experience.
And according to these secret notes, this mental operating system has three core functions it's always running. Let's walk through them. First, it relates properties to a subject. This is how we take red, round, and sweet and attach them to a stable thing we call an apple. Second, it orders a sequence. This is our ability to see one event, like a lightning flash, as happening before another, like a thunderclap, and to know there's a rule connecting them. And third, it creates a whole. This function takes all the separate things in your vision, the chair, the table, the lamp, and combines them into one coexisting system that you call a room. These three actions are the absolute bedrock of all our thoughts.
All right, now that we have the engine's three core functions, we get to the really cool part. We can see exactly how they forge the rules of reality itself.
Kant calls these rules the analogies of experience. Just think of them as the crucial bridge that connects our inner world to the outer world. They take the mind's private, subjective ways of working and translate them into the public, objective laws that govern how we all experience reality over time.
And here it is. This is the smoking gun right from his notebook. The three relations in the mind, those are the three functions we just talked about, therefore require three analogies of appearance. He's spelling it out for us, drawing a direct line of creation from the mind's internal programming to the external rules of reality. No logic table needed.
And here is the blueprint in action.
Just follow the logic. That first mental function, relating properties to a subject, that requires a rule of permanence out in the world. And what's the result? The category we call substance, the basic idea that things stick around. Next, the mind's function of ordering a sequence generates the rule of succession. The result? Causality, the law of cause and effect. And finally, the function of creating a whole generates the rule of coexistence. The result of that? Community, the concept that everything exists together, interacting in one unified system. It's undeniable. The fundamental rules of reality are being generated directly from the mind's own operating system.
But as incredible as this blueprint is, this thing we've uncovered in his notes, it's also, well, it's unfinished. And this secret history is just as revealing in what it leaves out as in what it explains.
So let's be clear, this generative model is an absolute powerhouse. It perfectly explains how we get the categories of relation, substance, causality, and community. But the notes are a lot quieter on how this same engine would produce Kant's other categories, like quantity or quality. The blueprint, it seems, is incomplete.
And this suggests a really fascinating possibility. Maybe that famous table of judgments from his finished book, maybe it wasn't the original spark of inspiration at all. Maybe it was more like a final checklist, a tool Kant used at the end to organize his thoughts and make sure his system was complete after the real creative work had already been done by the engine of apperception.
And that leaves us with a pretty profound final thought. Does this lost blueprint, this secret history, reveal a deeper, more dynamic truth about our relationship with reality? A truth that we aren't just passive observers in the universe, but active participants, constantly building the world from the inside out, using a blueprint hidden deep within the very structure of our own minds.